Thomas Tuchel it is then, and Thomas Tuchel is the man who is going to replace Lee Carsley as interim manager and Gareth Southgate as the previous full-time England manager. Now, I know a lot of people have big opinions on this and aren't necessarily too happy with the appointment of a German man as an English manager, but for me, I have no issue with this. I think it's an absolutely wonderful appointment. I think if any Englishman turns around and says that they don't want the best of the best manager, I do think they are lying. And it's one of them for me where I certainly believe that this could be absolutely excellent for the future of England and the future of those young players who come with that package. And you look at some of the players breaking through now, the likes of Angel Gomes, you look at Noni Madueke and players like that. You've also got the likes of Rico Lewis, Levi Colwill, who are all breaking into the first team picture now. And I certainly think that Thomas Tuchel could have a massive impact on their futures as England players. Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL content, which will be heading your way across the course of this season. Obviously, we've already done the previews for this weekend. Make sure you go and check them out. Obviously, we've previewed Derby County versus Millwall as well. But let's get back to talking about England. Now, for me, I'm not bothered the nationality of the manager. I personally do believe that there should be a rule where all managers and coaching staff, kit men, I think to work for a national team, you should be of that nation or of descent from that nation. So, for example, you look at the likes of Ravel Morrison, Mikel Antonio, all being able to go and play for Jamaica. I think that to be able to coach, manage or whatever an England team, I do think you should be English. I think that should be the rule across the board for international football. I think it then puts more of an emphasis on those younger coaches and giving them more opportunities. Now, does that mean that I'm against this deal of bringing in Thomas Tuchel to start January 2025? No, I'm not against it at all, not in the slightest. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know some of the top nations take their managers from their own country. But for me, if you look at the managers coming through that are English, you've got Eddie Howe, you've got Graham Potter, who's out of work, Sean Dyche. There's not really many top managers that are English. And the problem is how hard it is to get on coaching courses, really. But that's a completely different conversation. I personally believe that we don't put enough emphasis on building up our own coaches and giving them the opportunity to build. It's so difficult to get into those sort of like academy roles and things like that I just do think that we're backwards in this country when it comes to football and coaching and things like that. And for me, I think Thomas Tuchel is an unbelievable manager, and I think if you look at tournament football and what he's done in tournament football, he managed Chelsea to win the Champions League. Yes, Frank Lampard got them out of the group, but it wasn't exactly a difficult group. I think, if I remember rightly, Tuchel beat Man City in the final. I think they beat Madrid. I think they beat Porto as well. And it's not as if it was an easy run for Thomas Tuchel to get them to that final. And you look at players who are a little bit out in the wilderness right now. You look at the likes of Mason Mount, Fikayo Tomori, players like that. And these are players he may know about. Well, he will know about Mason Mount. He was a player who had a pivotal role in his Champions League win at Chelsea and the multiple finals he got to as Chelsea manager. I can't entirely remember if Tomori was still there when Tuchel got the job, but I believe there was an overlap. But for me, I do think it opens the door for finally to have a manager who's going to look further afield rather than just in our own country. Now, obviously, Angel Gomes being called up by Lee Carsley is the first sort of showing of that. Now, the talk suggests that Thomas Tuchel... If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL content. Let me know your thoughts on the appointment of Thomas Tuchel down in the comments. I think it's a really good one. You can let me know your thoughts down below. Obviously, make sure to check out channel memberships as well. That will really help support this channel. But make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit the goal of 1,500 by New Year. And can we do it? I know you can help me. Hit that big red button. Let's get back to the video. Signed this contract on the 8th of October, which sort of tells me everything I needed to know. I knew Carsley wasn't going to get the job anyway. I knew like, I always knew that in myself. I knew there was going to be someone else, like, heading into a World Cup or heading into a European Championships. I can't even remember what's next. I think it's a World Cup, isn't it? So it's one of those for me where I certainly believe that it's the right decision. I believe Tuchel comes in January. If that, I think that's a good idea. It obviously gives Lee Carsley another opportunity, another run out in the next international break, which I think is about 3-4 weeks away. It's not that far away at all. And I know people get sick of international breaks. You're not the only one. I do too. And it's one of those for me where I do think Tuchel will be the right man for the job. I just think that we needed a tournament football manager, and I think Thomas Tuchel has proved that he is that. Now, there's a lot of caveats with Tuchel. When you go back to his previous job roles and things like that, yes, he's had disagreements and arguments with previous coaches and previous management structures above him and things like that. When you look at his role at PSG, you look at the way he ended up leaving Chelsea, and for me, it's one of those where, was it necessarily his fault? I probably don't think so. I think when we look at a Thomas Tuchel side, we're probably going to a back three. And that's not a problem for me because I don't think we have good enough centre-backs across the board to play a four. I do think eventually we will have good enough centre-backs in a few years. You look at the likes of Braithwaite, you look at obviously Levi Colwill coming through. Like, there is players coming through that can play that position, but then we're also going to lose the likes of Stones, Maguire, etc. over the course of the next few years. Obviously Mark Guéhi as well, can't forget him. So it is one of those for me where I think Thomas Tuchel will do really well. I think I think he'll know what to do with this group of players. He's managed superstars before. He's managed big name players. He's managed proper footballing talent. Whereas you look at the likes of Lee Carsley, you look at Gareth Southgate, and obviously in their role prior to England management, they'd managed good potential players in that sort of youth system of England, but they'd never sort of had the big names on the big stage. Your likes of a Harry Kane, your likes of a Phil Foden, your likes of now a Jude Bellingham. And I know a lot of people think Jude Bellingham's a bit up his own arse and stuff like that, but for me, I think he's exactly what England have needed for years. A player who believes in himself, a player who knows he's the best and doesn't care that you don't. He doesn't care what you think about it. And I think Tuchel is going to have an excellent opportunity now to run with this England squad and make it work. Now, he's obviously already talking about winning the next competition, which is absolutely pivotal. First, we've got to qualify. He mentions that as well. But I can't see a bad thing about bringing in Tuchel. I wanted Pep Guardiola. I think everybody would have said, if Pep Guardiola's available, let's go and get him. But obviously, that situation's a little bit more difficult. He's under contract. And obviously, a few days ago, he was talking about this in a press conference. And I believe that if there's two managers available of Tuchel and Pep, they're the two. If those two are available, you go for them. I think they're unbelievable coaches. And I also think that Tuchel's contract with England is heavily incentivised. I think he's on about half of the wages that Eddie Howe's on at Newcastle, and then the rest of Tuchel's money is based on how far we get into competitions, which I think is absolutely perfect with making this decision and bringing in a manager to make sure that we can try and win a trophy. Now, are we guaranteed to win a trophy? Absolutely not. Do we have any right to win a trophy? Also, absolutely not. But do I think this gives us a better opportunity of winning one? Absolutely. Now, you can obviously let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I've been your host, Lewis Everett. We've been covering Thomas Tuchel's appointment for England. We also cover Derby County and the EFL on this channel. So if that's something you want to keep up to date with, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, smash the like button as well. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you in my next video.